the silent language of the rich. You talk. You explain. You justify. You keep trying to sound smart, agreeable, impressive. Across the table, the rich man barely says 10 words. Yet somehow, everyone leans toward him. The deal tilts his way. The room orbits his silence, not your effort. And when it's over, he walks out with the money and the respect, while you walk out with the story you tell yourself about next time. You felt that sting. On dates, you rush to fill every gap so they don't lose interest. In job interviews, you over-answer simple questions, stacking words on top of nerves. In negotiations, you start confessing your real budget, your real deadlines, your real fears, because the quiet feels like pressure you need to escape. You think you're building connection. They think you're broadcasting need. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Constant talking is a status signal. And not the one you think. The person who can't tolerate silence is announcing, to everyone watching, that they have less power in the interaction, less leverage, less control. The truth is simple but painful. Every time you rush to fill the pause, you volunteer information, you reveal insecurity, and you silently nominate yourself as the victim in the money game. Look at the rich, the real operators. They move slower, they answer later, they sit still while you fidget. Research shows high-status people use fewer, calmer gestures and speak less after a pause. That's not an accident. That's strategy. Their silence is not empty. It's a message. It says, I don't need this as much as you do. I can wait. Can you? And you react. You drop your price. You soften your boundaries. You sell yourself harder without realizing you've already been bought at a discount. What you're about to discover is that the richest, most strategic people are having brutal, crystal-clear conversations without words. A delayed reply is them saying, you are not my priority. A slow, unbroken gaze in silence is them saying, prove you believe in your own offer. Withdrawal after your oversharing is them saying, I've seen enough. Access denied. They speak in stillness, in pauses, in vanishing acts, and everyone around them scrambles to respond. Think carefully about this. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. This is forbidden strategy. Predators, rulers, high-level operators use silence as a weapon, a test, a filter. They watch who panics, who chases, who over-explains. That's how they separate wolves from sheep before any contract is signed, before any relationship begins. By the end of this video, you'll know how to use silence, withdrawal, and stillness to flip power in conversations, negotiations, relationships, and money decisions. Not by turning into a cartoon villain, not by becoming a passive doormat, but by learning the quiet rules of power the rich already live by, while the average person keeps talking themselves into weakness. Why your voice is making you broke, thesis and frusma. And here's where it cuts deep. Your voice is making you broke. You've been trained to believe that talking is value, that the more you explain, justify, and prove yourself, the more money and power you deserve. So you overshare in interviews, over-explain in negotiations, and oversell in relationships. You think words are building leverage. In reality, they're broadcasting your fears, your limits, and your price tag. Here's something nobody wants to admit. The money game does not reward the loudest voice or the hardest worker. It rewards the person who can sit in silence while everyone else rushes to fill the void. The one who lets others reveal what they're scared of losing, what they secretly want, and what they're willing to pay. Predators don't chatter. Victims do. Think carefully about this. Every time you rush to answer a question, to defend yourself, to clear things up, you are reacting. And in this game, the one who reacts is lower status. People unconsciously read it. The one explaining is the one chasing. The one waiting is the one choosing. Money and power flow to the chooser. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Rulers who survived didn't win by talking endlessly. They learned to say little, reveal less, and watch more. Because words commit you. Once you speak, you give people a script to attack, negotiate, or manipulate. Silence keeps you dangerous, flexible, and hard to pin down. A prince who cannot be read, cannot be controlled. The same is true for you. Look at the average worker. He talks about his plans, his goals, his 5-year dream. His boss says very little. The worker explains why he deserves a raise. The boss sits back, listens, and silently maps the worker's desperation. Guess who walks out locked into more effort for less money? The one who did all the talking. The truth is simple, but painful. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. One of those rules is perception. People assign status not by titles, but by patterns. Who reacts first? Who explains themselves? Who chases texts, calls, deals, and attention? Versus who waits, who withholds, who chooses when and if to engage at all. What you're about to discover in this video is not how to speak better. It's how to weaponize not speaking, how strategic people use silence, delayed responses, and withdrawal to raise their perceived value, to make others lean in, confess more, and compete for their approval. This is forbidden strategy because it flips the entire script you were raised on. Apply these laws and your role in every interaction changes. You stop being the performer begging for applause and become the quiet judge everyone is trying to impress. People pitch to you. They justify themselves to you. They raise their offer before you've said a single unnecessary word. In the next section, you'll see exactly how silence, stillness, and withdrawal turn you from prey into one of the wolves from sheep in every room you walk into. The fairy tale that keeps you talking and powerless, but here's the problem. You've been programmed to play the opposite role. You weren't trained to be the silent judge. You were trained to be the eager student, hand up, mouth open, explaining, justifying, performing. You were told your whole life that if you speak up, show your value, explain your intentions, and communicate more, people will understand you, reward you, and treat you well. That wasn't advice. That was domestication. Think carefully about this. You were given a script that works in a classroom, then thrown into a world that runs on power. In school, the teacher gives you points for participation, for enthusiasm, for how much you share. In the money game, the market punishes overexposure and rewards mystery. The truth is simple but painful. You're still chasing gold stars while the rich are quietly collecting leverage. You talk to clear things up. They stay quiet to see what you'll reveal. You pour your heart into long emails, long texts, long explanations. They scan for weakness, then respond with one short line. One person is bleeding information, the other is building control. Here's something nobody wants to admit. The person who needs to be understood always loses to the person who is willing to be misunderstood. Look at the cage you live in. Endless meetings where you keep repeating yourself so your boss won't get the wrong idea. You over-explain every decision, soften every statement, rush to answer every question the second it lands. You leave work drained, not from effort, but from defending your existence. That's not communication. That's submission dressed up as professionalism. Outside of work, it's the same prison. You over-text people you're attracted to, checking if they're upset, clarifying jokes, sending paragraphs when they send one-word replies. In negotiations, you keep talking to show you're reasonable, stacking justifications, overselling, giving discounts no one asked for. With every extra word, your status leaks. Predators can smell that spill from across the room. And here is the pattern interrupt. It's not just capitalism, luck, or bad bosses doing this to you. It's you. Your compulsion to fill silence, your addiction to reassurance, your need to prove you're good. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. The calm person who can sit in the quiet, who doesn't rush to explain, who lets others worry about what they're thinking, owns the frame by default. Every time you rush to answer, over-explain, or defend yourself, you broadcast one message: I need you more than you need me. That is victim language. That is how wolves from sheep separate themselves without saying a word. In the next section, you'll see how to reverse that signal so your silence says something completely different. You're not evaluating me. I'm evaluating you. You are feeding other people's fortunes with your reactions, so here's the part you don't like to admit. While you're busy proving you're not a victim, your reactions are quietly paying someone else's bills. You think you're just being honest, being transparent, clearing the air. They're calculating the leverage they just bought with your outburst. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Every impulsive reply is an invisible tax. Every emotional rant is a wire transfer. Every rushed yes you spit out just to kill an awkward silence is money, power, and time leaving your account and landing in the hands of someone colder than you. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Think carefully about this. You're in a salary negotiation. They say, "So, what were you thinking?" Then they go quiet. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Your heart rate spikes. You panic at the silence and blurt out, "Honestly, I'd be happy with anything above X." In that moment, you didn't just reveal your minimum, you handed them a discount on your entire future. They stay calm, still, professional. You walk out feeling relieved. They walk out thinking, cheap asset acquired. Same pattern in your messages. You text, no response. 10 minutes, an hour. You feel ignored, disrespected. So you double text, triple text. Explain yourself. Soften your stance. On their screen, you transform from equal to applicant. They now know you'll chase. You'll fold. You'll overgive to restore your pride. That's not just emotional. That's economic. That's how predators find who will overpay, overwork, and over-apologize. In business deals, it's even worse. You propose a price. They go silent. They need to think. They have to check with the team. You can't tolerate the gap, so you rush in, but we can do a discount if that helps. You just cut your own throat to relieve your own anxiety. They didn't negotiate. They just waited. Stillness did the work for them. The truth is simple but painful. Your need for closure is their source of wealth. Your racing thoughts fund their calm lifestyle. While you obsess over what they're thinking, they sit back, unreadable, letting your imagination do the labor. You burn energy. They collect leverage. Silence is a mirror. When you can't handle it, it reflects your fears, your scarcity, your neediness. You expose your lowest number, your deepest insecurity, your real level of self-respect without them asking a single direct question. When you can sit in that same silence, relaxed, you flip the mirror. Their impatience, their insecurity, their desperation starts to leak out instead. This is forbidden strategy. The rich train themselves to be emotionally still so other people's chaos becomes visible and exploitable. What you're about to discover next is how to build that stillness on command so their favorite weapon stops working on you and starts working for you. This is not about being nice. The Machiavellian reality, and here's something nobody wants to admit, this next part is not about being nice. It's about power. You've been trained your entire life to treat silence as awkward, withdrawal as rude, and stillness as weakness. That conditioning doesn't protect you, it disarms you. Think about the advice you've heard. Use your words, communicate your feelings, over-communicate at work so no one is confused. Sounds reasonable, right? The truth is simple but painful. When you follow that blindly, you turn yourself into an open book in a room full of predators. You broadcast your fears, your needs, your limits. The rich, the strategic, the quietly ruthless, they sit back and read you like a balance sheet. You pour your heart out in meetings while they say one sentence and watch. You send long paragraphs explaining yourself while they reply with a single line and a delayed response. You think you're building trust, they're measuring leverage. In negotiation studies, the person who breaks the silence first is more likely to concede. You've been trained to be that person. Here's the frame you were never given. Every room splits into wolves and sheep, talkers and watchers, reactors and observers. Sheep broadcast, wolves decode. Silence is the wolf's favorite hunting ground because that's where everyone else starts to panic and reveal themselves. When someone goes quiet and you instantly feel the urge to explain, justify, or apologize, understand what just happened. You just told them exactly where to bite. Now, is this ethical? It depends on who's using it and why. But the game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Pretending everyone is playing by gentle, honest, transparent standards doesn't make it true. It just guarantees that the people who do understand these rules will use them on you while you stand there, emotionally naked, insisting on good intentions as they strip you of money, time, and power. What you're about to discover is how powerful people weaponize quiet. They use silence to test loyalty, who chases, who waits, who collapses. They use withdrawal to filter opportunities, who becomes desperate when access disappears, who stays composed. They negotiate better terms by letting the other side talk themselves into weaker positions, then agree calmly. They walk away from bad deals without ever raising their voice, and somehow they still look like the reasonable one. Think carefully about this. Once you internalize these laws, you will never look at an awkward pause, a delayed reply, or someone's stillness the same way again. You'll see the tests inside the silence. You'll see the calculation behind the busy response. You'll see wolves from sheep in seconds. Because next, you're going to learn exactly how to do it on purpose, how to use controlled silence as a signal, a filter, and a weapon, without saying a single word. The real rules of power: money follows stillness. Not sweat, so now you see the weapon. But here's something nobody wants to admit. The people who use silence best are not doing it for fun. They're doing it for money and power. You grind, you respond instantly, you explain yourself in paragraphs. They sit in a room, say 10 words in an hour, and walk out with ownership. Look at the average worker. Exhausted, over-caffeinated, drowning in bills. He clocks in, clocks out, sweats through deadlines and mandatory meetings. Meanwhile, the owner arrives late, barely touches a keyboard, spends most of the day in quiet conversations. One signature from him moves more money than a decade of that worker's overtime. The truth is simple but painful. Effort is not what the money game rewards. Think carefully about this. In every company, the loudest people are rarely the richest. The customer service rep talks all day. The salesperson pitches non-stop. The manager runs from crisis to crisis. Above them sits one investor who says almost nothing, studies reports, then shifts capital with a calm email. Noise executes. Stillness directs. You've seen the paradox. Brilliant talkers who die broke. Charismatic people who can't keep a relationship. Loud leaders who lose control of their own teams. Why? Because power isn't about volume, it's about perceived necessity and replaceability. The one who looks like they can walk away at any time controls the room. The one who looks desperate to be heard becomes a victim. Wealth is strategic, not heroic. It flows to the person who can detach long enough to see patterns, who watches markets panic, then buys when everyone else is screaming, who lets 3 deals pass so they can strike on the 4th with overwhelming advantage. This is forbidden strategy. Less motion, more calculation. Less talking, more timing. Money reads signals. It moves toward people who look unhurried, unbothered, uninterested in convincing anyone. The unshaken posture. The slow, measured reply. The controlled delay before answering a message. Research is clear. The person who breaks the silence first usually concedes. So the rich train themselves to sit in that tension. Their stillness says, "I don't need this." That sentence, spoken without words, raises their price instantly. Here's what you're about to discover. Stillness is not passive. It's a broadcast. It tells people, my time is scarce, my options are wide, my emotions are under control. In a predatory game, that makes you look expensive. And expensive people get better deals, better treatment, better protection. From this point on, every tactic you learn will push you away from frantic, noisy effort and into cold, controlled presence. The game isn't rigged, you just don't know the real rules yet. Next, you'll see exactly how to make your silence say I'm the asset here in every room you enter. From victim to predator, the identity shift you've avoided, you've been trained to do the exact opposite. When you feel tension, you talk. When you feel ignored, you explain. When you feel disrespected, you launch into a speech about how much you've done and how little you've been rewarded. That's the victim identity in action. Always broadcasting, always justifying, always begging the world to finally understand. You know this version of yourself. The one who vents to friends, rants in messages, types paragraphs nobody reads. You replay conversations in your head, thinking, if I had just said it better, they wouldn't have treated me like that. You believe your problem is communication. It isn't. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Your problem is attachment. You're addicted to being heard. So you give away power just to feel seen for 5 seconds. Victims are reactors. A notification hits, you answer. Someone goes quiet, you panic. A pause appears in conversation, you rush to fill it with nervous words, discounts, apologies. Your entire nervous system is on a leash, held by other people's attention. They move, you move. They withdraw, you chase. They frown, you explain. That's not communication. That's control. You're just not the one holding it. Now contrast that with the observer. The observer does not chase every emotion across the room. They sit above the chaos, watching patterns. They hear what is not said. They notice who breaks eye contact, who fidgets, who overshares the second silence appears. They listen more than they speak, and when they do speak, it lands. Think carefully about this. A person who can watch without reacting can choose exactly when to move. That's leverage. Tie that to predator energy and it becomes brutal. Picture a tiger in tall grass. Utterly still. Silent, breathing slow. It reveals nothing. Its power is not in the roar. It's in the waiting. Now picture prey animals. Twitching, bleating, constant noise. Broadcasting fear and location to anything hungry enough to listen. Which one looks like you in the money game when a conversation gets uncomfortable? The truth is simple but painful. Right now, your noise makes you edible. Strategic people stay quiet and watch you unravel yourself. In negotiation studies, the first person who speaks after a pause usually concedes or reveals extra information. Predators know this. They weaponize silence, then sit back as victims discount themselves just to escape the tension. What you're about to discover, if you actually step into observer mode, is that people become predictable under silence. They rush to fill the gap with excuses, secrets, offers, confessions. You won't need to push. You'll just guide. A question here, a look there, a delayed reply that makes your presence feel expensive. Pattern interrupt. If you refuse this identity shift, understand your position clearly, you stay food. Talkative, exposed, easy to manipulate by anyone who can simply shut up and wait. In the next section, you'll see exactly how to turn that tiger stillness into practical moves that bend conversations and people toward your advantage. Most humans are blind, learning to see in social darkness. That tiger stillness only works if you can see in the dark. Most people can't. They walk through social life like they're half asleep, bumping into power without ever recognizing it, confusing loudness with strength and silence with weakness. The truth is simple but painful. In almost every interaction, the real conversation is invisible to them. You were trained to listen for words, compliments, arguments, explanations, but you were never trained to track the timing. Who answers instantly? Who delays? Who interrupts? Who falls quiet the second a certain person enters the room? Here's something nobody wants to admit. The person who controls the rhythm of the interaction controls the power, not the one saying the most clever lines. Think carefully about this. In negotiation studies, the first person to break a pause is more likely to concede, reveal extra information, or soften their position. That means every time you rush to fill a silence, you volunteer weakness. You announce, "I need this to move. I can't handle pressure." Predators hear that. Rich, strategic people weaponize it. When you stop racing to talk, the room changes. Silence becomes a flashlight. You suddenly notice who cannot sit in a 3-second pause without fidgeting, who starts oversharing personal details to kill the discomfort, who discounts themselves with phrases like, "I don't know if this is valuable, or sorry, this might be stupid." Loud confidence starts to glitch, and you see the insecurity underneath the volume. Watch an average meeting. The average worker fights to sound engaged, nodding fast, hands moving, voice filling every gap. The higher status person speaks less, moves less, gestures slower. Research on status signals is clear. Stillness is read as confidence. The one who doesn't flinch under silence looks like they own the room, even if they say almost nothing. This is where social X-ray vision begins. Strategic silence lets you scan for weak points. Who keeps glancing around for approval when they speak? Who avoids eye contact the second conflict appears? Who folds the moment a question hangs in the air too long? You start seeing who will cave in a negotiation, who will betray under pressure, who will obey whoever makes them most uncomfortable. This is forbidden strategy in the money game. You stop being the victim of invisible pressure and start testing people with it. A held gaze plus silence, a delayed answer, a slow exhale instead of instant agreement. You're not being passive. You're running diagnostics. What you're about to discover next is the first concrete law: silence as a weapon, not theory. Specific moves, exact phrases you don't say, pauses you hold until the other side breaks and hands you leverage. You've seen how blind the average person is. Now you're going to learn how to walk into any room and turn that blindness into your private source of power. The average life, a cage built out of noise. The average life, a cage built out of noise. You wake up And before your brain even boots, you're already reacting. Screen on, notifications everywhere, messages, tags, emails. You don't decide your first thought, the group chat does. You reply instantly, half asleep, already explaining, already defending, already proving you're available. The day hasn't started, and you've surrendered control of the frame. Then work begins, more talking. Meetings where the loudest, not the smartest, dominate. You overshare in every update, justify every tiny decision, fill every silence because it feels dangerous. You send long emails for clarity, as if more words equals more power. It doesn't. It just tells everyone you're afraid of being misunderstood, so you overcompensate. On breaks, you complain in group chats, dump your frustration into voice notes, rant about your boss, your pay, your stress. Then you open social media and broadcast your mood to strangers. Every thought becomes content. Every feeling becomes a post. You think you're expressing yourself. You're actually training the world to see you as noise. Here's something nobody wants to admit. The more you talk, the less your words weigh. At home, a small disagreement appears and you unload paragraphs. Walls of text, essays about how you didn't mean it, begging to be understood. In money decisions, you ask 10 different people what they think, talk in circles, then do nothing. You drown any strategic move in a flood of opinions. The truth is simple but painful. When you are always available, always replying, always explaining, people assume your time is cheap. They assume your boundaries are flexible, your no is negotiable, your yes is desperate. You become the person who will pick up at midnight, answer instantly, justify endlessly. That is not power. That is a public service line. Think carefully about this. In the money game, constant response is submission. You act like being reachable is loyalty. Predators read it as weakness. They know a person who cannot tolerate silence will pay any price to escape it. Extra work, lower pay, emotional manipulation. You call it being nice. They call it leverage. The average person clings to naive beliefs. They think if they're honest and open, life will reward them automatically. They believe appearances and charm will carry them. They assume being understood is more important than controlling the frame. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Look at who you secretly envy. The boss who says little in meetings, then makes the final call. The investor who doesn't react to market panic, just waits and buys when others are bleeding. The attractive person who replies slowly, if at all, and never explains their silence. They move less, speak less, reveal less, yet the room bends around them. What you're about to discover is why their quiet isn't shyness. It's strategy. It's how wolves from sheep are separated, and how real power starts. Leverage versus effort. Why the loud worker loses leverage is the reason those people can sit still and make the room move. Effort is how hard you push. Leverage is how much moves when you barely touch it. The rich understand this in money. Strategic people understand it in conversation. They design interactions so a raised eyebrow, a pause, or a single sentence shifts behavior more than someone else's 10-minute speech. Think carefully about this. When you talk, you spend. Every word is a payment. You pay in mystery. You pay in leverage. You pay in perceived power. The truth is simple but painful. The louder you are, the more you expose your limits. Your urgency, your bottom line. You think you're convincing people. You're actually handing them a map of how to control you. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Noise kills leverage. The more you explain, the more hooks you give people to pull on. They can question your logic, argue your reasons, delay your outcome. But when you say less, there's nothing to grab. Silence is smooth. Stillness is hard to attack. They force the other person to reveal their position first, to fill the space, to show their cards while you keep yours hidden. Look at the average worker. He's loud, always volunteering in meetings, over-explaining every task, sending long emails just to show effort. He thinks visibility is power. In reality, he's broadcasting insecurity. Managers learn his patterns, his fears, his need for approval. He becomes easy to control, easy to overload, easy to underpay. Effort without leverage turns you into a predictable victim in the game. Now look at the quiet operator. They deliver. On time. Clean, no drama. In meetings, they speak rarely, and when they do, it's short and decisive. They don't chase recognition, they let results speak and let silence do the rest. That stillness reads as self-sufficiency, as confidence. Promotion decisions come up, and the choice looks obvious: the person who needs constant reassurance, or the one who seems like they could walk out tomorrow and build wealth on their own. This is forbidden strategy in corporate life. Use silence to signal you're not dependent. The same law runs relationships. One person sends long emotional paragraphs, essays full of explanations, apologies, arguments. They think more words mean more connection. In reality, they are bleeding leverage. The other person learns exactly how to trigger them, how much they'll tolerate, how far they can push. Contrast that with the person who sets a boundary once, clearly, then goes quiet. No debate, no performance, just stillness. What happens? The other side is forced to choose. Adjust or disappear. Respect the line or reveal they were never serious. Silence becomes a filter. It separates wolves from sheep, predators from partners. And here is the first principle beneath all of this. Your leverage begins where your fear of silence ends. If you cannot hold a pause without flinching, you cannot hold power. Next, we break down silence as your first weapon and how to wield it without shaking. Law 1. Master the power of silence. Law 1 is simple to name, brutal to execute. Your first weapon is silence. Whoever can hold the pause controls the frame. You think power is in what you say. The rich know it's in what you're willing not to say, and how long you can sit there while the other person unravels. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Humans hate empty space. A few seconds of quiet in a negotiation feels like a spotlight and a courtroom at the same time. The average person panics. They rush to fill the gap with discounts, excuses, explanations, apologies. They start negotiating against themselves, trying to buy back comfort with words. Think carefully about this. You quote your price, then go silent. They frown, hesitate, look down. If you're average, you break first. But I can go lower. It's flexible. We can work something out. You just told them you don't believe in your own value. You surrendered money and power to escape a feeling. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. The truth is simple but painful. Silence feels like judgment. It feels like a mirror. When you say nothing, people are forced to sit with their own thoughts, their own fears, their own guilt. They project all of that into the gap. That's why they confess more than you asked. That's why they reveal their budget, their doubts, their real motives. They're not talking to you. They're trying to silence the pressure in their own head. In negotiation, the rich weaponize this. They hear an offer, then go quiet. No facial drama, no quick counter, just stillness and eye contact. Studies show the person who speaks first after a pause is more likely to concede. Predators know this. Victims don't. In job interviews, the average candidate answers instantly, over-explains, sells, begs. The strategic player pauses, breathes, looks like someone comparing offers in their mind. That pause says, I have options, even if your bank account is screaming. Power is perceived before it is proven. In arguments, silence is how you refuse the bait. They escalate, insult, poke your ego, trying to drag you into emotional mud. You stay still. Calm, you don't reward their performance with a reaction. That's not weakness. That's control. In sales, silence closes deals. You state the terms, then shut up. You let them talk themselves into the purchase, justify it to themselves, sell themselves on why they can't miss this. You provide the frame. Their own mind does the rest. When you can sit in silence, you stop being prey, chasing reassurance. You become the hunter who watches, waits, and chooses the exact moment to strike with a single, decisive sentence. This is forbidden strategy in the money game. You gain leverage not by adding more words, but by removing them. Next, you'll see how unreadability and stillness turn that same silence into a permanent aura of power you carry into every room. How strategic silence wins negotiations before they start, and once you understand that, negotiations stop being a polite conversation and start becoming a controlled hunt. You're not there to perform. You're there to sit, watch, and let the other side bleed information and money into the silence. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most deals are won or lost in the first reaction to the first number. They throw out a price. a salary, a percentage. The average person jumps in instantly. Thank you, that sounds good. Or that's too low, I need more. They broadcast need. They surrender leverage. The rich do something else entirely. They lean back. They breathe. And they say nothing. Picture it. They slide a paper across the table. So we're thinking 75. You don't flinch. You don't smile. You don't frown. You simply look at the paper. Calm, still, maybe a slow inhale. Maybe steady eye contact. No words. Just presence. 5 seconds of this feels like a minute to them. 10 seconds feels like a threat. In that vacuum, their brain starts to eat itself. Did they go too low? Are you insulted? Did they misread the market? Are you comparing this to a better offer they can't see? The truth is simple but painful. People would rather give up money than sit in tension. So they start talking. Of course, there's some flexibility. We could go a bit higher. And obviously there are bonuses. They negotiate against themselves while you simply exist. Think carefully about this. Negotiation research is brutal on the talkers. Study after study shows the person who speaks first after a pause is more likely to concede, sweeten the deal, or reveal extra information. Why? Because they're trying to kill the discomfort you calmly tolerate. Silence exposes who is the predator and who is the victim. So you need a rule. A simple, weaponized habit. After they finish their sentence, you take 3 slow breaths in your head before you say anything. 1, 2, 3. If they rush to fill that gap, you just gained power without lifting a finger. If they don't, you still win, because now your words land as deliberate, not desperate. This is forbidden strategy in the money game. Your restraint becomes your armor and your knife. And here's what you're about to discover next. This dynamic doesn't stop at boardrooms and contracts. The same silence that moves numbers on a page also moves hearts, loyalty, and obsession. In dating, in friendships, in business messaging, your response time and your quiet say more about your value than your paragraphs ever will. What happens when you stop chasing with words and let absence do the talking? Silence in texts and calls. How the rich train people to wait in texts and calls. You expose your real position in the money game. Not with what you type, but with how fast you obey. You think you're just being polite. They read it as you're on a leash. Look at the average person. Phone face up, notifications on. Someone leaves them on read for 10 minutes and their brain melts. They double text, hey, just following up. They send long explanations. Sorry for the late reply when it's been 7 minutes. They apologize for not answering instantly, as if their entire existence is customer support. That's not communication. That's self-advertised desperation. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Every rushed reply is a tiny confession that your time is cheap. The rich understand this perfectly. That's why their pattern looks nothing like yours. They rarely text back instantly. When they do respond, it's short, clear, decisive, no paragraphs. No essays. No sorry, I was busy. They simply answer the question, set a boundary, or make a decision, then disappear again. Over time, this trains people. Their contacts don't spam them. They prepare before they reach out. They think carefully about this. If I get one reply, what do I actually need? Their time becomes scarce in people's minds, which is where power begins, long before money shows up. The truth is simple but painful. Delayed responses, when combined with high-quality answers, signal that you have options, priorities, and leverage. You're not ignoring people. You're refusing to broadcast that your life revolves around any one message. A person who can wait before responding looks like someone with a full schedule, a real mission, and more than one source of validation. Predators don't circle the person who looks busy and focused. They circle the one who looks bored and available. Pattern interrupt. Your phone is not a leash. Read that again. Every time you jump at a vibration, you silently announce to the world, you can interrupt me anytime. I belong to whoever pings me first. High-value people are never on demand. Not in dating. Not in business. Not in friendships. If someone treats you like a vending machine for instant replies, they are not seeing you as powerful. They are seeing you as inventory. So you need rules. This is forbidden strategy because it exposes how controlled you've been. Don't rush to reply emotionally. When a message triggers you, wait. Let the chemical storm pass, then answer with logic, not ego. Set minimum response windows for non-urgent messages, 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes more. Not as a childish game, but as proof to yourself that you control your attention. And never reward disrespectful or chaotic communication with instant access. Late-night drama, wall of text rants, baiting, guilt, manipulation, those earn silence, not priority. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. What you're about to discover next is how this same delayed energy, when used in person, turns stillness, eye contact, and slow reactions into a dominant signal that bends conversations around you. When saying nothing says everything, when you stop feeding chaos with words, something unnerving happens. People are forced to face themselves without your explanations to distract them. Silence becomes a mirror, and most people hate what it reflects. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Silence is a response. Not replying, not chasing, not defending yourself. That is a statement. You're saying, this doesn't meet my standard. Without a speech, without a fight, without a single wasted breath. The average person thinks power comes from the perfect argument. Strategic people know power comes from refusing to argue at all. Think carefully about this. Every time you rush to explain, justify, or convince, you're broadcasting dependence. You're telling them, your approval controls my state. That is victim energy. Predators feel it instantly. But when you go quiet, when you let their message sit unanswered, their guilt, their insecurity, their need for control starts working against them. You save energy while they burn theirs. Look at relationships. The average person begs, lectures, repeats the same boundary 10 times, then explodes. It never works. The truth is simple but painful. If you have to scream your standards, you don't have any. The strategic move? You state the boundary once, calmly, clearly. I don't tolerate disrespect. Then when it's crossed, you don't debate it. You withdraw. You stop engaging, stop explaining, stop performing emotional labor on demand. Your silence and your absence become the consequence. What happens next? They feel the loss of your access. They feel the shift in power. They replay their own behavior in their head because you're no longer arguing about it for them. Some will adjust. Some will expose themselves as permanent liabilities. Either way, the silence did what 1,000 emotional paragraphs never could. Now take it into money. A client demands a ridiculous discount, treats your work like it's cheap. The average worker panics, negotiates against themselves, throws in extras, apologizes for charging at all. This is how wealth leaks away. The strategic player says, that doesn't work for us, then shuts up. No nervous rambling, no defensive essay, just stillness. In negotiation studies, the person who breaks the pause usually concedes. When you hold the silence, you force them to reveal their real position. If they raise the offer, you just gained money and leverage. If they walk, they were never serious. Either outcome is data. No drama. Just control. This is forbidden strategy because it demands emotional discipline. Silence only works when you're not secretly begging to be understood. When you're not hooked, not triggered, not desperate for validation. Your calm non-reaction lands like a slap. People rethink their behavior because your energy doesn't flinch. But here's the catch. If your mouth is quiet while your face, your posture, your fidgeting scream insecurity, your silence loses its edge. The next level is emotional opacity, learning to make your entire presence unreadable while you say nothing. And that's where stillness turns from a boundary into a weapon. Law 2. Become emotionally unreadable. Law 2 is this. Emotional opacity. You stop broadcasting your internal state. You stop being a walking subtitles bar for your own mind. You become like smoke. Hard to grasp, hard to predict, impossible to control. Here's something nobody wants to admit. The average person is an open book written in crayon. Their face lights up when they're interested. Their eyes dart when they're scared. Their voice cracks when they feel inferior. Their body folds in when they feel rejected. Predators love this. In the money game, the person who can read emotions faster controls the pace, the price, and the terms. Think carefully about this. A negotiator sees your pupils widen at a number and instantly knows your ceiling. A boss watches your shoulders tense at the word budget and knows you'll accept less. A romantic interest notices you lean in when they pull away and realizes they can string you along. You speak before you speak. And every visible reaction you leak is leverage you hand over for free. Emotional opacity is the opposite. You train your face, your voice, your body to stop testifying against you. Your baseline becomes calm, slow, steady. When others panic, your tone doesn't spike. When a deal sounds urgent, your breathing doesn't change. When someone throws an ultimatum at you, you don't flinch, you don't rush, you don't fill the silence. You let the words hang while your body stays loose and relaxed. The truth is simple but painful. The readable are predictable. The predictable are controllable. The controllable become victims. Flip the chain. Unreadable becomes unpredictable. Unpredictable becomes uncontrollable. Uncontrollable becomes dangerous. And dangerous people are respected, deferred to, and quietly offered better terms, because no one wants to trigger what they can't map. Picture two reactions. The average worker hears, "We might have to cut your hours," and instantly their face collapses, their voice speeds up, they start begging, explaining, oversharing. They just confirmed they'll accept anything. Now you hear the same words. Your jaw doesn't clench, your eyes don't dart. You hold eye contact, shoulders down, breathing slow. I see. That's it. No extra. Suddenly they're the ones filling the space, softening the blow, adjusting the offer, because your stillness makes them anxious. This is forbidden strategy in conflict. Someone raises their voice, you keep yours low. Someone tries to bait you with insults, you look at them, neutral, like you're observing a child. No fidgeting, no nervous laughter, no defensive monologue. Their attack hits fog and loses force. What you're about to discover is how addictive this is. Once you control your visible reactions, you'll watch people start over-explaining, over-offering, and over-compensating in front of you, desperate to decode you. And in the next law, you'll learn how to weaponize that confusion by controlling not just what you show, but when you appear at all. How predators read you, and how to stop feeding them that fog you create when you stop reacting. Predators hate it, because here's something nobody wants to admit. The people who win negotiations, deals, and status games aren't listening to your words first. They're scanning your nervous system. They read you like a balance sheet. Seasoned negotiators, manipulators, high-level players, they watch micro-reactions. Eye flickers when money is mentioned. Breathing changes when risk appears. Tiny posture shifts when you feel cornered. You think you're explaining your position. They're running a live diagnostic on your fear, your greed, your craving for approval. Think carefully about this. A person who can read you doesn't need to outsmart you. They just need to wait for your body to confess. Your eyes widen for half a second at a high price. They know they've hit your ceiling. Your shoulders drop when they threaten to walk away. They just discovered you fear loss more than you value self-respect. Nervous laughter after a long silence. They know you can't tolerate tension. Rapid speech when challenged. They see a victim trying to escape pressure instead of holding ground. In the money game, those tiny tells are gold. Every visible flinch becomes a discount, a delay, a concession. Every obvious need to be liked becomes an invitation to squeeze you. They drag out the meeting because your restless fidgeting screams, "I need this over with." They anchor a brutal offer because your micro-shock exposes your true limits. The truth is simple but painful. You think you're negotiating terms. You're actually broadcasting where to hurt you for maximum leverage. Look at the average worker in a performance review. Boss hints at budget constraints. Eyes drop. Breath shortens. Body caves. Without saying a word, they accept lower money and higher workload. The boss doesn't need to be a genius. He just follows the map their body handed him. So you cut off the supply. You become visually expensive to read. This is forbidden strategy. Start with basic opacity drills. Neutral breathing. Slow, steady, almost boring. Shoulders relaxed but not collapsed. Minimal fidgeting, hands still, feet grounded. Default calm expression that doesn't jump with every sentence thrown at you. When someone drops surprising information, you don't flinch, gush, or defend. You say one word, interesting. Then you pause and let silence do the work. At first it will feel unnatural. You'll want to explain, justify, fill the gap. Don't. In negotiation studies, the person who breaks the pause usually concedes. Let them be that person. Let them reveal, overoffer, sweeten the deal while they try to decode your stillness. Because when you pair this unreadability with strategic timing and cold patience, everything flips. You stop playing defense. You stop answering their moves. And in the next law, you'll see how to use disappearance itself as a weapon, forcing predators to chase shadows while you decide when the game even moves at all. Act calm when others bleed. The power of contrarian emotion, and once you understand disappearance as a weapon, you're ready for the next layer, staying calm while everyone else bleeds out emotionally. This is where silence stops being passive and turns into a contrarian signal of power. When the room is on fire and you're the only one not screaming, you don't just look different. You become the reference point everyone secretly checks. Look at how the average person behaves under pressure. Markets dip a little, and they refresh their portfolio every 30 seconds, dumping positions just to relieve anxiety. A rumor hits their company, and they start oversharing in group chats, explaining, defending, confessing. A relationship wobbles, and they send paragraphs, voice notes, late-night calls, begging for certainty. They don't want clarity. They want relief. Panic is their drug of choice. Here's something nobody wants to admit. In those moments, the crowd doesn't chase truth. It chases comfort. And comfort is expensive. They sell assets at the bottom for emotional painkillers. They leak secrets in arguments just to feel heard. They accept terrible deals to make the fear stop. That's how predators pick their victim. Not by strength, by nervous system. Now contrast that with the emotionally opaque player. Screens flash red, financial news screams catastrophe, social media melts down. What do? Nothing. They sit. They watch. They ask quiet questions. They pull up data instead of Twitter. While the average investor rage sells good assets, the rich one is placing limit orders, buying what panic is mispricing. This is forbidden strategy in the money game. Use other people's fear as your discount code. Picture a wealthy investor in a crash. No flinching. No frantic phone calls, just stillness while price candles plunge. That stillness reads as certainty. Capital flows toward whoever looks least afraid, because fear smells like insolvency. The truth is simple but painful. Your calm becomes their shelter, and shelters get paid. Same rule in social conflict. The argument heats up, voices rise, faces flush. You don't match volume, you lower yours. Or you go completely silent and just maintain relaxed eye contact. Suddenly the contrast exposes everything. They look unhinged, you look in control. Observers, even subconsciously, assign power to the person who needs the least emotional display to hold their position. Think carefully about this. A person who can't be emotionally provoked on command can't be steered on command. If your emotions are public property, your future is too. Because anyone can move your money, your time, your relationships, just by pressing the right buttons. The game isn't rigged, you just don't know the real rules yet. So your task is brutal but clear. Train your default response to crisis to be slowness, quiet, and withdrawal. Let others flail and reveal. You pause, observe, and then choose the move that benefits you, not your anxiety. Because in the next law, you'll see how to turn that calm into calculated aggression. Striking only when the crowd is blind and you hold every angle of leverage. Law 3, timing, patience, and the predator's clock. Law 3, timing, patience, and the predator's clock. You've learned to slow your reactions. Now you have to slow your entire sense of time. Because here's something nobody wants to admit. Most people don't lose the money game from lack of effort. They lose because they move on the wrong clock. They act like prey, sprinting in circles while predators wait in the shadows, breathing slowly, counting heartbeats. Look at the average person. They want instant replies, instant deals, instant gratification. If a text isn't answered in 10 minutes, they panic. If a business idea doesn't blow up in 30 days, they quit. If an investment doesn't rise in a week, they sell. Their entire nervous system is wired to now or never. So they keep paying a silent tax to those who can wait. The rich live on a different timeline. They are comfortable waiting weeks, months, even years for the right move. They let 10 opportunities walk by so they can own the 11th completely. They understand the truth is simple but painful. Money never stops moving. It just changes pockets, flowing from the impatient to the patient, from the reactive to the observant, from the noisy to the still. Think carefully about this. A tiger in tall grass doesn't chase every noise. It doesn't sprint at every rustle like a starving amateur. It watches. It measures distance. It studies wind direction, angle, and escape routes. It waits until the kill is almost guaranteed with minimal effort. One clean strike instead of 100 exhausting chases. That's predator timing. That's the clock the rich live on. In markets, in deals, in negotiations, the same law rules. When crowds panic, patient predators quietly accumulate assets at a discount. When everyone is euphoric and loud, they sell into the noise and disappear. This is forbidden strategy. Use other people's urgency as your income stream. Their need for speed becomes your leverage. How do you access that timing? Through silence. Your ability to wait in silence, to not force outcomes, to let others reveal their urgency, gives you the data you need. In a negotiation, the first person who breaks a pause usually concedes or reveals extra information. So you sit. You hold eye contact. You let the silence stretch until their anxiety starts talking for them. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. One of those rules is brutal. The one who controls the tempo controls the power. When you stop chasing every notification, every limited offer, every emotional spike, you stop being the victim of time and start weaponizing it. What you're about to discover next is how to combine this predator clock with targeted aggression. So you stop begging for opportunities and start catching the ones everyone else is too frantic to see. Buying when they panic, waiting when they beg. So once you control the tempo, what do you actually do with it? You buy when they scream, and you wait when they beg. That's the part nobody explains, because this is where real money and power are made quietly, while everyone else is busy panicking out loud. Look at any panic cycle. Markets crash, industries wobble, your group chat turns into a live therapy session. People spam articles, voice notes, worst-case scenarios. They rush to exit, to fix, to do something immediately. They talk endlessly, trading fear like a virus. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most people don't manage crises. They perform them. They signal fear to feel less alone, and in doing so, they hand control to the calm observer in the corner. That calm observer, that's who the rich play as in the money game. While the average person narrates their terror, the strategic person goes quiet. They listen, they watch, they count. Then, while prices, financial, social, emotional, are collapsing, they accumulate. Cheap assets, underpriced skills, discounted positions, no announcements, no speeches, just silent positioning while the crowd sets everything on sale with their own hysteria. Think carefully about this. A person who can stay silent while everyone else is confessing their fears collects information no one else hears. In negotiation studies, the person who speaks first after a pause usually concedes. The rich weaponize that rule. They let the pause stretch. They let the other side fill it with discounts, justifications, and self-sabotage. Picture a real estate investor sitting across from a desperate seller. The seller unloads a 20-minute emotional story about divorce, deadlines, debt. The investor barely talks. Relaxed posture, steady gaze, no fidgeting. When the storm of words finally dies, he gives one calm number. No chasing, no haggling, just, "That's my offer." Then silence, time and pressure do the rest. Every day that passes, the property gets heavier on the seller's back. The offer doesn't move. Who has the power now? The truth is simple but painful. In financial panics and personal drama, the first one to chase loses. This is forbidden strategy in relationships too. Someone pulls away, tests you, goes cold. The average person panics, double texts, over-explains, begs for clarity. The strategic person mirrors or exceeds the distance. No angry speech. No emotional essay. Just stillness. That silence forces a reveal. If they value you, they move closer. If they were playing, they vanish. Either way, you win by not auditioning. You buy when they panic. You wait when they beg. You stop paying full price for anything. Assets, deals, even attention. And the game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Because beyond these three timing laws, there are quieter weapons the rich use daily: withdrawal, scarcity of presence, controlled stillness, tools that make people chase you, pay you more, and fear losing access. What you're about to discover next is how those silent weapons turn you from target into predator. Weaponized withdrawal. When disappearing says you need me, weaponized withdrawal is one of those quieter weapons. On the surface, it looks passive. In reality, it's a blade. You don't swing it. You remove yourself and let other people feel the cut. Withdrawal means this. You intentionally reduce your availability, your presence, your responses. Not as a tantrum. Not as a sulk. As a signal, a clear declaration that your time, energy, and attention are not free resources for anyone to drain on demand. You step back, and without saying a word, you announce, access to me is limited. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most people don't withdraw, they just pout in place. They stay emotionally wounded but physically present. They complain in group chats, post online about being done, over-explain to friends while still answering every call, every text, every late request from the same person or system that disrespects them. That isn't strategy. That's performance. You look hurt, but you're still fully available. Predators love that. It tells them you're a victim with no price. Strategic withdrawal is different. You don't announce it. You don't send a dramatic paragraph. You simply stop overgiving. You stop chasing replies. You stop reminding people of your value like a salesperson begging for a sale. You quietly pull back from conversations, projects, and relationships that don't meet your standards. Fewer messages, slower replies, no follow-up when someone forgets you. Silence becomes your statement. The truth is simple but painful. If you have to keep pushing yourself into their awareness, you never had power there. Machiavellian rulers understood this long before social media. Kings, emperors, and modern billionaires all use the same rule: scarcity of presence. The less people see you, the more every appearance matters. Court rulers didn't walk the streets daily. They appeared rarely, under controlled conditions, and every audience felt like a privilege. The rich still play that game. Limited access calls, delayed responses, rare meetings that decide millions in money and power. This is forbidden strategy for the average worker who thinks being constantly reachable equals value. Think carefully about this. If you vanished from a group, a company, a relationship for 30 days, what would actually break? What would stall? Who would panic? What system would lose money? Pattern interrupt. If your absence is never felt, your presence was never valued. That's not an insult. That's an audit. You need that data now, not when you're exhausted, broke, and wondering why loyalty never shows up when you need it. Because withdrawal exposes the real hierarchy. When you step back and nothing changes, you see where you were just cheap labor, free emotional support, background noise in someone else's game. When you step back and everything scrambles, you see leverage. You see where you are, the infrastructure, not the accessory. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Next, you'll see how to combine this withdrawal with stillness and unreadability, so your presence becomes rare, expensive, and untouchable. Testing loyalty and respect with silence. Now you weaponize that withdrawal. You don't just step back to rest. You step back to measure. Silence becomes a scanner. When you stop feeding people your time, your words, your constant availability, you see the real structure of the relationship. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most connections in your life are powered by your chasing, not their loyalty. Think carefully about this. The loyalty test is simple. You stop initiating, stop over-explaining, stop checking in. You go quiet. Not with a dramatic announcement, just a clean, disciplined drop in energy. Then you watch. Who reaches out and adjusts? Who mirrors your effort? Who only notices your absence when they need something? And who vanishes the second you stop doing the emotional and logistical labor for them? Take relationships. You've had that person who replied when it was convenient, who always had time when they were bored, never when you needed them. You chased. You double-texted. You filled every silence because you were afraid of what it meant. One day, you stop. No angry speech. No argument. Just silence. Days pass. Weeks, if they never initiate. You didn't lose anything. You just saw the truth without a single fight. The truth is simple but painful. They never valued you. They valued the attention supply. This is forbidden strategy in business too. You stop reminding a client what you deliver. You stop sending follow-up after follow-up, chasing invoices, begging for confirmation. You let the silence sit. If they only appear when they want a discount, a rush job, a favor. You've identified a low-respect, low-power relationship. They don't see you as an asset in the money game. They see you as a discount button. Predators love suppliers who can't stop talking, can't stop proving, can't stop showing up uninvited. But these tests only work if you have emotional discipline. If you break silence the second anxiety bites, if you go back to begging for crumbs, the test fails and you stay the victim. Can you handle the answer the silence reveals? Can you live with the reality that some people will never text, never call, never pay, unless you chase them down? Power comes from accepting that truth without flinching. What you're about to discover is that this isn't just about who contacts you. It's about how your silence feels when you're in the room. Because the next level of this strategy is physical. Stillness, gaze, posture, the non-verbal signals that turn your quiet into gravity. You've tested who moves when you disappear. Next, you'll see what happens when you stay, say nothing, and everyone else starts moving around you. Stillness as status. How your body speaks wealth, so now we move from silence in your messages to silence in your muscles. Before you open your mouth, your body has already voted on your status. It's already told the room whether you're a predator or a victim. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most people lose the money game the second they walk in, not the second they talk. Watch the average person enter a meeting. Rapid steps, jerky handshakes, fidgeting with their phone, their sleeve, their bag. Their body is screaming, "Please like me, please accept me." They think their words will save them, but the verdict is already in. Restless movement broadcasts insecurity. Constant adjusting advertises low rank. You can't claim power verbally while your body is begging for permission. Now look at the rich. They move slowly, deliberately. They sit as if the chair is already theirs. They stand as if time bends around them. Research on status signals is brutal and clear. High-status individuals use fewer, slower gestures and almost no fidgeting. Stillness is read as confidence, control, and comfort in the environment. The truth is simple but painful. Whoever looks most at ease usually gets treated as if they belong above everyone else. Think carefully about this. A steady gaze held 1 second longer than normal feels like dominance. Shoulders relaxed, not puffed up, signal that you don't need to prove anything. Hands still, not tapping, not scrolling, tell people your nervous system isn't negotiating for safety. You're already safe. You're already in control. In the money game, that calm body becomes a weapon. People offer better deals to the person who looks like they can walk away. Contrast that with the average posture. Hunched shoulders, quick nodding, nervous laughter at every joke, constant shifting in the chair, adjusting the watch, reopening the email, checking the phone that didn't even buzz. This is what seeking approval looks like in physical form. They rush to fill space, to answer instantly, to react to every microsignal. They don't realize that speed, in their case, reads as submission. What you're about to discover is that stillness is not passive. It's active pressure. When you take your time sitting down, when you pause before responding, when your eyes stay calm while others dart around, you flip the hierarchy. You stop chasing the room and force the room to orbit you. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know real rules yet. Here is forbidden strategy. Adjust posture, gaze, and movement, and people will change how they treat you before you say a single word. In the next section, you'll see how to combine this physical stillness with timing and speech, so that when you finally talk, your words land like a verdict, not a suggestion. The gaze, holding eyes without begging or threatening. So let's start with the one signal people feel the most and understand the least. Your gaze. You think eye contact is about confidence. The rich use it as a status weapon. Too little, and you sink into the background like every average worker begging to be ignored. Too much, and you look insecure, like you're trying to force respect you don't actually own. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Desperate eyes expose you before you open your mouth. The darting, nervous scan. The locked, unblinking stare. Both scream one thing. Please approve of me. Power doesn't plead. Power observes. The truth is simple, but painful. High status is read in a relaxed, unhurried, intermittent gaze. You look when it matters. You look away when you decide. Not when anxiety yanks your attention. Watch how predators in the money game behave in conversation. When the other person speaks, they hold eye contact, steady and calm. Then, every so often, they glance away to think, not to escape. They break eye contact on their own timing, then return, slow, controlled, like they're choosing to re-engage. No fidgeting, no scanning the room for a better option. And they never stare someone down just to prove dominance. They don't need to. Their stillness does the work. Think carefully about this. Research on status signals shows that high-status people move less, gesture less, fidget less. Stillness reads as certainty. Now combine that with your eyes. When someone says something important, an offer, an insult, a confession, you don't rush. You hold their gaze for a beat. Silent, expression minimal, body open, shoulders loose. That pause forces their brain to race. Did they say too much? Did they offend you? Did they undersell themselves? This is forbidden strategy. Because in negotiation studies, the person who breaks the silence first usually concedes, over-explains, or improves their own offer. So you weaponize the pause. Eye contact. Stillness. No reaction. Then, when you finally speak, your words land heavier, as if they were weighed during that silence. You look like someone who doesn't need to chase, doesn't need to fill space, doesn't need to prove value. That's perceived dominance. That's leverage. Here's the twist. This works only when your body is relaxed, not rigid. Tension turns your gaze into a threat. Relaxation turns it into control. People read calm eye contact plus silence as credibility, not aggression. You're not attacking. You're evaluating. And in a predatory world, the one who evaluates is rarely the victim. Layer this with what you're about to discover next. Controlled scarcity of your presence. When your gaze is steady, your reactions slow, and your appearance is limited, something strange happens. Rooms start to organize around you. You stop feeling like background noise and start moving like the main character. But that effect depends on one more invisible rule of timing that almost no one uses correctly. Scarcity of presence. Why rich people are hard to get. And that one more invisible rule is this. Rich people are scarce. Not just with money, with presence. You flood every room you can get into. They ration themselves like gold. You chase visibility because you think attention is power. They weaponize absence because they understand something you don't. What is everywhere is worth nothing. Look at the average person. Always around. Always reachable. Always free to jump on a call, grab coffee, hop on Zoom, stay late, show up early, fill in, help out. Their calendar is a begging bowl. Their presence is like tap water, endless, taken, for granted. Nobody prepares for them. Nobody optimizes for them. They exist as background noise in the money game, a permanent extra in other people's movie. Now watch how the rich move. You don't see them at every event. You see their name on the list, their shadow in the room, their decisions in the budget. They choose rooms like snipers, choose targets, limited appearances, short, focused meetings. When they walk in, people sit up. When they speak, pens start moving. People talk about them more than they actually see them. That's not an accident. That's strategy. Here's something nobody wants to admit. You teach people how to value you by how available you are. The truth is simple but painful. If anyone can get you for an hour, your hour is worthless. When your time is scarce, people plan. They show up on time. They don't waste minutes with small talk. They respect boundaries because they know there won't be a second chance. Scarcity forces efficiency. Scarcity creates respect. Think carefully about this. Economics doesn't stop at money. It governs attention, presence, energy. Humans are wired to chase what they can't easily reach. Tickets that sell out feel more valuable. Messages that get slow, decisive replies feel more important. When you're not instantly accessible, people rehearse what they'll say before they get you. They filter nonsense. They bring you problems worth your level. And when you do show up, you don't rush, you don't overshare, you don't perform like a circus act trying to justify being there. You sit. Still, calm. Phone away. Gaze steady. You listen more than you talk. You ask one or two precise questions that cut straight through the noise. Your silence between sentences forces them to keep revealing. Your stillness signals power and control. Pattern interrupt. If everyone can get you, no one truly wants you. Because what is always available is never truly valued. This is forbidden strategy the average worker refuses to learn. They confuse being busy with being important. But the game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. In the next part, you'll see how the rich extend this scarcity into time itself, using delayed responses and strategic disappearance to pull money, effort, and loyalty toward them without chasing. The art of saying less, words as bullets, not confetti, and here's where most people destroy all that carefully built scarcity. They open their mouth and flood the room. They talk until their own value evaporates. Word inflation. When you talk constantly, every sentence becomes a cheap coin tossed on the table. Nobody cares, because they know you'll just keep paying. Think carefully about this. The average worker explains, justifies, repeats, overclarifies. They write paragraphs when a single line would do. They think more talking equals more control. In reality, it signals the opposite. It says, my words are so worthless I can spend them recklessly. The rich do not play the money game like that. They treat words like scarce currency, spent rarely, aimed precisely. Here's something nobody wants to admit. When people know you'll keep explaining, they stop listening after the first sentence. They wait you out. They know if they stay silent, you'll reveal more, soften more, backtrack more. In negotiation studies, the person who breaks the pause first is the one who usually concedes. That's the victim, the one who can't tolerate silence. So you need a new frame. Words as bullets, not confetti. Every sentence is a shot. You aim. You fire. Then you stop. No spraying. No nervous add-ons to make everyone comfortable. Power does not apologize itself into existence. Power states, then watches. What you're about to discover is brutally simple. You answer questions directly. Then you shut up. Can you do Thursday? No, that doesn't work for me. Full stop. Not. No, because I have this thing, and I'm so sorry, and maybe we could. You don't volunteer information that wasn't requested. You don't hand over your schedule, your feelings, your internal debate. You give the minimum needed to move the game forward. The truth is simple but painful. Long justifications are confessions of insecurity. Short, firm statements are signals of control. That doesn't work for me. I'm not interested. We'll keep it as is. These are verbal pressure points. They force the other person to respond, to reveal, to adjust around you. Look around any room full of talkers. The loud ones fight for attention, tripping over each other's sentences. The quiet one speaks rarely, but when they do, everyone turns. Fewer, slower gestures, calm eye contact. Stillness. Research shows that level of stillness reads as confidence and dominance. In a world of verbal noise, restraint looks like power. This is forbidden strategy because it exposes who actually has leverage. The person who can stay silent, who can leave space, who doesn't rush to fill the air, controls the frame. They look rich in time, attention, and certainty. They look like the predator, not the prey. In the final phase, you'll see how to weld all of this into a daily operating system, where silence, withdrawal, and stillness stop being tactics you force and become the automatic way you move through every room. And that's where the real separation between wolves from sheep begins. Building your silent operating system, this is where it stops being a trick and starts becoming your default setting. You can't posture as a predator while running prey software in your nervous system. So you're going to install a new operating system, silence, withdrawal, and stillness as your baseline, not your exception. Think carefully about this. An operating system isn't a random tactic you remember once a week. It's how you text, how you sit, how you breathe when someone challenges you, how long you wait before you answer. The rich don't try to be unreadable in the money game. Their OS is already slow, calm, and selective. Average people sprint emotionally. Strategic people move like they have all the time in the world. So you set rules. Hard rules. No rushing to fill silences. If there's a pause in a negotiation, you don't rescue it. You let them speak first, because research is clear. The one who breaks the pause usually concedes. No instant emotional replies. Someone sends a provocative text, you feel the spike, but your OS says, "We respond later." and only once. No over-explaining. You state your position one time, clean and short. After that, silence carries the rest. Here's something nobody wants to admit. When you are everywhere for everyone, you broadcast that your time is cheap. So another rule: you are not instantly reachable. You don't jump on every call, every message, every invitation. Your default becomes slow, calm, selective. You answer when it serves your strategy, not your anxiety. Now you drill it into your body. One silent pause in every conversation. When someone finishes a point, you count 3 seconds in your head before responding. Watch how they start filling the space, revealing more than they planned. One delayed response per day. A message that used to get an instant reply now waits an hour, then receives a short, decisive answer. One situation where you choose withdrawal over argument. Instead of debating, you say noted and disengage. One meeting where you consciously move slower, fewer gestures, less fidgeting, measured eye contact. High-status people do this naturally. You're training it on purpose. The truth is simple, but painful. At first, your nervous system will scream. Silence will feel dangerous. Withdrawal will feel like losing. But as people start treating you with more respect, giving you better offers, chasing your time instead of ignoring it, your body learns a new lesson. Stillness is safe. Silence is profitable. This is forbidden strategy, because it quietly separates wolves from sheep without a single motivational speech. What you're about to discover is that once this OS locks in, you stop chasing validation and start commanding attention without asking. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. In the next phase, you'll see how to weaponize this operating system in negotiations, relationships, and the money game itself. So every interaction becomes a test you control. Handling the discomfort, rewiring your need to explain now, here's where the fantasy dies. It's easy to love silence in theory. It sounds powerful, strategic, elite. But the first time you actually hold it in a real conversation, your body will revolt. Your chest tightens. Your mind screams, say something. Explain. Fix it. That's not logic. That's old programming. You were trained from childhood that silence equals danger. If a parent went quiet, you panicked. If a teacher frowned and didn't respond, you rushed to defend yourself. You learned that being polite means filling space, softening tension, over-explaining so nobody feels uncomfortable. Here's something nobody wants to admit: that training made you safe in families and classrooms, and weak in power dynamics. The truth is simple but painful. Every time you rush to explain, you're signaling that someone else's perception has more power than your reality. You turn yourself into a defendant in a trial nobody actually called. Strategic people refuse that role. They let silence do the cross-examination. Think carefully about this. The tightness you feel when you don't instantly reply to a message, when you let a comment hang, when you don't chase someone who pulled away, that feeling is not proof you're wrong. It's proof you're breaking a habit of self-betrayal. You're used to throwing your thoughts, your time, your emotional energy at anyone who looks even slightly displeased. That's overexposure. That's how predators identify a victim. So you don't start by going monk mode for a week. You build micro-tolerance. 3 seconds of silence after someone finishes talking, while you just breathe and look at them. 10 minutes before answering a non-urgent text, even when your fingers itch to type. 1 full day before you follow up with the client, the crush, the busy person who suddenly went quiet. You're not playing hard to get. You're training your nervous system to stop confusing calm with danger. Research on negotiation shows the first person to break a pause usually concedes or overshares. That's not an accident. That's wiring. When you hold the pause, you flip the wiring. Their anxiety starts working for you. This is forbidden strategy because it exposes how much of the money game and the power game is just nervous people trying to escape silence. To make this stick, you need an identity shift. When the urge to explain rises, you don't argue with it. You override it with a new frame. Predators don't explain. Strategists don't rush. My silence is my filter. You repeat it when your thumb hovers over double text. You repeat it when someone looks at you, waiting for you to justify yourself. You stop auditioning. Here's the pattern interrupt you need to swallow. Comfort has been your prison. As long as you only do what feels safe, you stay predictable, readable, and easy to control. You react, they lead. You explain, they judge. You rush, they sit back and collect power, money, and leverage. In the next section, you'll see how to weaponize this new tolerance for silence in live negotiations and relationships, so every pause becomes a mirror that exposes who's really desperate and who's actually in control. Reading the room, when to speak, when to vanish, so now you can sit in silence without flinching. Good, but if you do it blindly, you don't look powerful. You look clueless, passive-aggressive, or weak. The truth is simple but painful. Silence only signals power when it fits the room you're in. When you ignore context, your mystery turns into confusion, and confusion turns you into a victim. Reading the room is the skill that separates wolves from sheep. You walk into any space, and you scan. Fast. Who's talking the most? Who's being deferred to without question? Who's watching more than they speak? Who looks uncomfortable, shrinking into their chair, or over-explaining every sentence? This is forbidden strategy. You're mapping power before you open your mouth. Think carefully about this. The person who talks non-stop is usually bleeding information. The one everyone glances at before they agree is the real center of gravity. The quiet observer with relaxed stillness often holds hidden leverage. Research on status signals is clear. High-status people move less, gesture less, and speak slower. Stillness reads as certainty. Fidgeting reads as insecurity. So when you stay still and silent in the right moment, you're not doing nothing. You're projecting control. But when do you speak? When do you vanish? Here's something nobody wants to admit. Powerful people don't talk to feel heard, they talk to move the game. You speak to clarify decisions. You speak to set boundaries. You speak to make offers that change stakes, money, or direction. You stay silent when others are venting, posturing, or revealing their hand. Let them expose their fears, their numbers, their pressure points. You withdraw completely when disrespect becomes the norm. When your presence is taken for granted. When your words no longer change anything. Picture a meeting. Everyone else is arguing, defending, interrupting. They're raising their voices, racing their words, trying to win airtime. You sit back, you watch, you let the chaos burn. Negotiation studies show the person who breaks a pause usually concedes more. So you let their noise run until it exhausts itself. Then you speak once, calmly. You summarize the key points, cut out emotional garbage, and state the decision or the line. Your words land like a period at the end of a chaotic paragraph. That's power. This is how the rich operate in the money game. They don't chase rooms that don't respect them. They don't over-explain. They don't fight to be heard. They read the room, choose when to speak, and choose when to disappear, and let absence raise their value. In the next sections, you'll see how this silent positioning compounds into wealth, relationships, and self-respect. And you'll face a challenge. When the next room tests you, will you fill the silence or weaponize it? From noise to gravity, who you become if you apply this, so let's fast forward. Let's say you don't flinch. You don't fill the silence. You actually weaponize it. Who do you become? You go from talkative, reactive, always available, emotionally transparent, to someone people can't read, can't rush, and can't pull like a puppet. The truth is simple, but painful. The more noise you make, the less gravity you have. The quieter you become, the more everything starts orbiting you. Think carefully about this. Your first law was silence as a weapon. You stop jumping into every pause, you stop rescuing awkward moments, and you watch what happens. In negotiations, the person who speaks first after a pause is more likely to concede. So you sit. You breathe. They start explaining, justifying, adding bonuses you never asked for. You win by not moving. Then emotional opacity becomes your shield. Before, your face told the whole story. Excitement, fear, insecurity, all broadcast for free. Predators love that. Now your expression is slow, still, almost boring. People project strength onto you because they can't see chaos. You don't react to pressure, deadlines, or passive-aggressive comments. You respond when it suits your strategy. Timing and patience turn into your internal clock. You stop chasing instant replies, instant deals, instant validation. You buy when others panic. You wait when the average person scrambles. You understand this is forbidden strategy in the money game. The one who can wait longest controls the terms. Withdrawal and scarcity become your filter. You are no longer always available on call, on text, on demand. Delayed responses, fewer appearances, but higher quality moves. People start adjusting to your tempo. Low-value invitations fall away. Disrespect dries up because you don't chase it, explain to it, or argue with it. You just remove access. Stillness and gaze become your non-verbal crown. You enter a room, you don't rush to speak, you don't fidget. Research is clear. High-status people move less and slower. So you sit back, shoulders relaxed, eyes steady. Others start talking more, revealing more, selling themselves harder. You watch deals close themselves while you say almost nothing. Now imagine your daily life under these laws. You walk into rooms with zero urge to prove yourself. You let others brag, overshare, and negotiate against their own interests. Arguments at home and at work shrink because you no longer fuel them. People feel your calm as power, not passivity. Money responds. You negotiate better because silence forces real numbers onto the table. Relationships upgrade because only the secure, the serious, and the respectful stay. Your reputation shifts. Calm, decisive, hard to shake, hard to read, impossible to rush. Here's something nobody wants to admit. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. And now you do. Which means there's a cost. From this point on, every time you overshare, overreact, or break a powerful silence, you'll feel exactly what you just gave away. In the next section, you'll see how to turn this new gravity into concrete leverage, money, status, and long-term positioning that silently separates wolves from sheep. Your next 7 days, a ruthless silent experiment, so now you know the rules. But knowledge without a test is just entertainment. For the next 7 days, you're going to run a ruthless experiment on yourself. No theories, no excuses, just you, silence, and the reactions it pulls out of people who thought they owned your attention. Here's something nobody wants to admit. You don't understand power until you start removing your voice from places that feel entitled to it. So for 1 week, you will consciously speak less, pause more, delay every non-urgent reply, and withdraw at least once from a low-respect situation without announcing, explaining, or defending. You walk out. You go quiet. You let the silence say, access revoked. Each day, you have non-negotiable tasks. In every important conversation, you execute one deliberate pause, not a shy silence. A calculated one. You finish your sentence, you stop talking, you hold eye contact, and you let them be the first to break. Negotiation studies are clear. The person who fills the pause is more likely to concede or overshare. You've done that your entire life. This week, you watch them do it. Next rule, no instant emotional texting. Someone sends something that spikes your heart rate. You do nothing for at least 30 minutes. No typing bubbles, no paragraphs. You let your nervous system calm down. Then you answer short, clean, and controlled. The truth is simple but painful. Every time you respond in seconds, you confirm you're available on command. That's not connection. That's training yourself to be a victim of other people's urgency. Once a day, you enter one meeting or call with a single objective: stillness, slower movements, fewer gestures, minimal fidgeting. Research on status signals shows high-status people move less and speak slower. Stillness reads as certainty. Watch what happens when you stop performing and just sit in your own gravity. People lean in. They adjust their tone. They start treating your words like they cost money. You also enforce one boundary per day using silence instead of argument. Someone pushes, nags, or disrespects, you stop explaining. You repeat your position once, then go quiet. No debate. No emotional essay, just a wall. Think carefully about this. Predators test prey by watching how long it takes them to fold. Your silence tells them the hunting season is over. You're not doing this blindly, you track it. Every night, you write down 3 things: where silence flipped a reaction, where withdrawal exposed who actually respects you, and where stillness made people recalibrate around you. This is forbidden strategy because it reveals who was feeding on your constant availability. Expect backlash. Some will call you distant, cold, arrogant, good. That means they were feeding on the old you. The average person will panic when their favorite puppet cuts the strings. If you survive these 7 days, you will feel a different identity forming. In the final section, you'll see how to weld that identity into permanent leverage in the money game, and that's where the real separation begins. Choose your side, sheep of noise or wolf of silence. That identity is the fork in the road. From here on, you choose. You stay the person who fills every silence, explains every feeling, chases every reply, or you become the person whose quiet makes entire rooms nervous. Here's something nobody wants to admit. Most people are terrified of silence because it exposes who actually has power. The one who talks first after the pause usually concedes first, reveals first, bleeds leverage first. The average worker babbles, over-explains and confesses. The predator watches, counts breaths, waits. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Think carefully about this. This is not a social trick. This is how you negotiate your salary. This is how you choose partners. This is how you handle crises when everyone else is panicking and selling their future for emotional relief. The truth is simple but painful. The person who controls their mouth controls the money. The one who controls their reactions controls the relationship. Over decades, that difference compounds into wealth or regret. You rush to fill the gap in a job interview and you reveal your lowest number. You over-explain in a conflict and you hand over emotional control. You text back instantly and you advertise that your time is cheap. Meanwhile, the rich delay, respond slowly, and answer less than they know. Their stillness says, "My schedule is full, my attention is scarce, my value is non-negotiable." So choose your side, sheep of noise or wolf of silence, victim or strategist. You can stay addicted to explaining yourself to people who are barely listening, or you can become the one who observes, waits, and moves only when the odds are stacked in your favor. What you're about to discover in your own life is that silence is not absence. It is pressure. It is a mirror. It forces the world to reveal itself. Here's your call to identity. From now on, you are not the eager entertainer in the money game. You are the cold reader, the quiet analyst, the one who lets others talk themselves into weaker positions while you conserve energy and decide if they even deserve access. This is forbidden strategy because it turns you from emotional prey into a calculating predator. Now commit publicly. In the comments, write one situation this week where you will use silence or withdrawal instead of chasing. A negotiation, a text thread, a family argument. Subscribe if you want more of these Machiavellian laws the rich use to convert silence into power and power into money. And share this with one person who talks too much and can't understand why they keep losing. From this moment on, every time you feel the urge to explain, defend, or rush, remember you are standing at the fork again. You can stay prey, or you can sit back in silence and let the world reveal itself around you.